Isis, the Egyptian god Isis, was worshipped well into the uh, late uh, BC era. She was almost made it into the year of our Lord Anno Domini. She almost made it into Christianity. We'll talk about that and more fun Isis facts as I sketch this little statuette, and maybe I'll remember all of my words. Let's just turn the page and get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is, what is this? Is it Friday morning? Goodness, it's Friday morning. Wow, this week has flown by. It is Friday morning. I got an itch. On Friday mornings, I like to do a thing where I pull a toy from the toy box, a random object from the Random Object Randomizer, and I draw it, and we talk about it. And today's random object from the Random Object Randomizer is the Egyptian goddess Isis, or at least a statuette of her. Now, we've done an Isis before. I don't know if we've done an Isis in the watercolor style. I'm not sure we did an Isis with the facts when I did the Isis. I may have just done it in pencil, and I may not have discussed the facts while I did it, because we've been doing this for well over a year now, and some of the things we're back to the point now where some of the things that we did are coming back up. And so I thought I'd focus today on the statues, not just on the goddess herself. Rick says it seems like we just saw you last night, didn't it? It passed so quickly. That night thing. It passed so quickly. In the chat, my mom and dad are in the chat. My mom is on the phone. She's the angelic voice you hear overhead. She lets me know all of the interesting things that happen on the screen. Most of the time, I know to look at the screen because she's laughing. When she laughs, I know there's something going on the screen I have to pay attention to. And that's usually Rick cutting up. It was a very short night. You know, last night, on Thursday nights, I stream. I just do art with my besties. For those of you who aren't familiar, I just art with my besties on Thursdays, called the Artistic Biker Live. And on that show, we don't have this format. The format here is, you know, I draw something and I talk about the thing that I draw, and then we kind of study it and we kind of learn about it while I sketch. But that's not the format on the Thursday night show. The Thursday night show is just me arting with my buddies, just having a good time. And I get so wound up doing that it usually takes me 2 or 3 hours after the show to wind back down. And so the show ends at 9. It's usually midnight or 1 o'clock before I'm calmed down enough to go to sleep.
Robot Morg.
Hey, Robot Morg. Good morning. If it is morning where you are, it is morning where I am. It takes me about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours to wind down after the show. And so last night it was 2:30 in the morning when I went to bed, because I did a critique of the last 6 months worth of paintings and it took me 3 hours. It took me 3 hours to wind down.
It's 3:37 where Robot is.
3:37 a.m. or p.m.
AM.
Let's see, where does that put you? California? Two hours from now, so California, Washington, Oregon, somewhere along the west coast, Baja California, Michoacán, Mexico. "3:30 in the morning, not a soul in sight. The city's looking like a ghost town on a moonless Sunday." Anyway, today's random object from the Random Object Randomizer is the goddess Isis, the statue of the goddess Isis. And there were statues all over. One of the most famous was in Pompeii, though. And, Pompeii's Greek. Pompeii's not Egyptian. So it's worth noting that Isis had moved beyond just Egyptian lore. She was easily spread around because, well, that sounds horrible. Her faith was easily adaptable because there are many other goddesses that she can represent, such as Aphrodite. She was
Washington State.
Close. Washington State. Okay. Did I not mention Washington State? I think I stopped at Oregon, didn't I? But she was marketed as the equivalent of Aphrodite to the Greek people. And so it was easy to build temples to her and get people to worship her in Pompeii and later on into Rome, especially after Pompeii got covered in volcanic ash. The statue in Pompeii was wooden in her temple. She had a wooden statue with a marble head. And the priests would clean her and dress her every morning. Like she was a real person. They would undress her, they would anoint her with oil, they would dress her and treat her like she was a real person. Every morning. They had a room called a purgatorium, double as a bathroom and a place to purge during the festivals. They would overindulge. The Greeks would overindulge, and it would make them want to vomit, purge. There's no nice way to say it. And the room is called a purgatorium, where they did such things. And they kept in the purgatorium, in the temple for Isis, they kept water from the Nile. And the Nile was thousands and thousands of miles away. But they kept water from the Nile. Somebody would go and bring water from the Nile. And there's no way to stop it from evaporating. There's no way to stop it from being used up. So they'd have to have a fresh supply of it every day. So somebody was going all the way to the Nile. In worship of Isis. You too. All right. But the features on the Pompeii Isis, as well as her representation throughout Rome and Greek, obviously had Roman and Greek features, not Egyptian features. The shape of her face, the pointedness of her nose, the statuesque, the figure. This one is the traditional. The one we're doing today is the traditional Egyptian model. But she spread throughout the Mediterranean. Her worship spread throughout the Mediterranean and Africa, and up into at least Eastern Europe.
Rick says sometimes man thinks his head is full of marbles, but she never tries to dress him.
You're missing out. Your wife doesn't dress you? You're missing out. My wife tries to pick my clothes. She gets annoyed at me because I have 30 black t-shirts and 10 pairs of black slacks and 12 black long sleeve, or 12 cobalt blue shirts, button-down shirts, 5 cobalt blue knit shirts, and 3 pairs of dad shoes and a pair of yellow Crocs. So she gets annoyed at me because picking out my outfit is easy. I just go and grab the next set. What are you going to wear today? Same thing I wear every day, Pinky. I got that from Einstein and from Steve Jobs. Except I think I was doing it before Steve Jobs was.
Rick says she thinks I have too many dresses.
Can one really have too many dresses, though, Rick? I mean, you got to have evening gowns. You got to have enough evening gowns so that you don't wear the same evening gown frequently enough that people remember that evening gown. Of course, the problem with the evening gown is you've got to get your back shaved. And then you've got the day skirts. I don't know. I'm not sure you can have too many dresses. It's the heels that get me. I'm kind of short in stature, and I get dizzy getting that tall.
Anyway,
This is my favorite part of the process. I probably never told you guys how much I love this part of the process. This drawing, this shading part, my absolute favorite part of the process. I probably never ever told you how much I love this part, but I absolutely love this part of the process. This is what turns it from a lines on a page to a dimensional object. Gives the whole thing form and shape. Rick started it. Pamela's going to spank us both. We're lucky. I mean, this is a family show. Stop it. This is not the Thursday night show. I love this process. I'll let that dry. I'll come back to that in a minute. Let that dry. We'll come back to that in a minute.
It's interesting that you kept your page turned that way.
Yeah. Today it worked. But I'm going to have to turn it now. But not just...
Oh, I meant to draw the entire thing because I would have done it the other way.
Oh, but then I wouldn't have had room for the shadow.
Okay. Okay, I see. Well, you're there, not here.
Yeah, I've done that. I've turned the page the other way and then end up not having room for the shadow.
Fixed it as the extended Thursday night show.
I don't know. I'd probably get more viewers if I turned this into a PG-13, like the Thursday night show. We had a lot of people watching last night. Not very many people chatting, but a lot of people watching. I like when people show up, let us know where they are. Like RoboMorg died. Are you guys up early or late? I got off work at 1 a.m. So a little bit of both. I'm up early today, but I haven't slept much because, like I said, I do a Thursday night show. I've only had about 2 hours sleep, 3 hours sleep. Yeah, this is typically an early morning for us. I'm one of those people that wakes up every day at 4:30. And I was practicing anyway at 4:30 in the morning, so I thought, let's just turn the cameras on. And that was over a year ago. We've been doing this. This is day 467 for us. Let me dry this real quick. And then we can add some color. Rick says he and Pamela are arting right now. Robot Morg says he is arting right now. They are arting right now. I don't really know. And Robot Morg sounds like a male name, but that's just because I'm old and I think that you get gender specific with robots. My girl robot. Could be my girl robot.
Started every painting.
Cool, Rick. In the city of Sais.
Yeah, robot's a dude.
Okay, I kind of thought so, robot, but you know, again, I don't want to offend anybody with my ancient sensibilities. The city of Sais, there was a temple with an Isis in it, and the Isis had a veil, wore a veil, and had an inscription on the statue. And the inscription said, "I am all that has been and is and shall be, and no mortal has ever lifted my mantle." And it was kind of a challenge. I dare you to touch my veil. It's kind of a challenge. And the only reason we know that this existed is because Ptolemy and Pliny the Elder wrote about it. And because the statue itself, the temple itself, had been gone almost 2,000 years before anybody wrote about it. But there were lots of statues of Isis and lots of temples of Isis, all, like I said, all throughout Egypt and the Mediterranean and Africa and all the way up into Eastern Europe. That particular story was told 2,000 years after the temple had vanished. And there's a phrase called about the veiled Isis. And when you talk about a veiled Isis, what you're referring to is nature's hidden truths. It's a phrase that talks about things that you know about but can never really know because of the nature of the thing doesn't lend itself to any more understanding. It's gone, or like in this particular case, it's gone. That phrase exists because of that veiled Isis statue.
We have Kobe Weber on vertical.
Hey, Kobe. Good morning. Or whatever time it is, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods.
It's nighttime where he is.
It's nighttime. Because he said, how's everybody doing tonight? It's early morning here. And we're day's just getting started for us.
He's currently doing his own thing, so he came in to give you a thumbs up.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Truly, I do. The little statuettes were in people's houses. Served double duty. They had they had healing spells, or they had fertility spells, or they had prayers written on them. Sometimes they were medicine cabinets. There's just little statuettes all over the place of people paying tribute to Isis, because Isis lended, like I said earlier, Isis lended herself to many, many, many different religions.
It's morning where Kobe is 5:57, so he's in our time zone. Hey.
By the name of Frank Goddess went scuba diving off the coast around the ruins of Alexandria and found a temple, a lost temple that had sunk, of Isis, along with some 40-foot statues of Pharaoh and Cleopatra the Seventh, who was trying to line herself up as a reincarnation of Isis, a demigod, a living god that would ascend to godhood as soon as she died, so that people would worship her. That was Cleopatra the Seventh. That was not Elizabeth Taylor. Let me dry this real quick so we can ink it. Cleopatra the Seventh was marketing herself as Nea Isis Aphrodite, but I'm sure she did it in Greek or Latin pronunciations, Nea Isis Aphrodite. I'm not absolutely positive how she pronounced it, but I'm sure it was something along those lines. Because again, she was trying to get the folks to worship her. Some highlight reflections across here. that I probably could have preserved beforehand. This is so much more fun. Many things are either shiny or they're not. That's all I'm doing. You don't want to do too much of that. Too much highlight actually has the opposite effect. So you don't want to do too terribly much. I do think her shadows could be just a little darker before we move to ink. So I'm going to darken that shadow in just a bit. Shadow looks like a slasher, like a slasher movie shadow. Now, rising from the depths of the grave is Isis. Okay. So easy to overwork stuff like this. As I discovered last night during my show when I did a critique of all of my past paintings for the last year. Well, no, for the last 6 months. It was only 6 months, 26 weeks. Get the acrylic off there. Don't let the acrylic dry on your water brush. Don't let the acrylic dry on your water brush. If you let the acrylic dry on your water brush, it's important to have a spare water brush nearby, because that one's ruined.
You did that yesterday.
Put acrylic in my water brush?
Did you use acrylic yesterday?
No, I think I talked about putting yesterday morning on the frog. Did I use acrylic on the frog? I did. I came back and put acrylic around his eye.
Yeah.
Did.
One more reason to go to Texas Art Supply.
Why is that? Because I need acrylic or another water brush?
Another water brush. You're just building a case to go.
I talked to them about doing a stream from there, and Lisa, the manager, was real friendly, but she said she had to talk to the owner. She couldn't just authorize me to do a stream from there. And it's one of those things where if I had just done the stream, nobody would have ever said anything. It would have been a good time. But that just seems obnoxious to me. I felt the need to ask. And of course, when you ask, all anybody can think about is all the things that can go wrong. And so nobody wants to make the decision to approve such a thing once they consider all of the things that can go wrong. Statues of Isis. Most households that had a statue of Isis in it, the statue was between 3 and 8 inches tall. Not too dissimilar from what I have here on the stage. But the ones that made it up in Eastern Europe, I keep referring to like Romania and stuff like that. A lot of the statues were of Isis with her full-on horned helmet, holding the ray disc over her head, while she's nursing the baby god Horus. And the people in Eastern Europe would file the crown and horns off and remark it and repaint it and sell it as Mary and the baby Jesus. So the statuettes were still being produced and still being sold up into Christianity. And they were being repurposed for sale in Christianity. So that tells you that not only was Isis being worshipped 3,000 years ago, but she was being worshipped all the way up until like 800 AD. And that's fascinating to me. But there is my version of it compared to the photograph. We're running just a little bit late. Let's get a shot of it from my perspective. There it is. There it is from my perspective. And for once, I didn't make her too terribly chunky. Lately, I've been making all of my drawings chunky. Like the boat was like this when it should have been like this. You can't see my hand, so it doesn't make any difference. So what do we have tomorrow? I have no idea what we have tomorrow. I spent all that time last night gloating over the show. I haven't even opened the egg to know what tomorrow is. So who knows what we're going to find out? It's going to be a surprise to both of us. Oh, well, what is this? I believe that this is a red deer. Is what I believe this is. We'll talk about, or it could be a white-tailed deer. I'm not sure. I'll know more tomorrow morning for sure. So you're going to want to set your notification bell so you don't miss any of that. Look at the intricacies of the horns. That's going to be a good thing that it's a Saturday morning show and not a weekday show. So I don't have to worry about getting all that done before work. But that's what we're doing tomorrow. So you're going to want to set your notification bell for that. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. Rick, Pamela, Mom, Dad, RoboMorg, Kobe Weber, Joe stopped in for a few minutes earlier. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to this every day when I get to art with my besties. It is my favorite time of the day. I literally run down the stairs to be here with you guys. It holds me accountable to my art practice and is often the only art I get to do in a day. Be sure and tune in tomorrow. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing, because when they see me dancing, I will know that the lag has caught up with the stream and I won't get cut off mid-sentence. Gives everybody a chance to say hello and goodbye to each other and ask any questions that they may have. It lets you give a chance to click the clicky thingies this way if you're on the horizontal, or this way if you're on the vertical, so that you can watch another fantastic video just like this. And Rick says at this time of the morning, a deer is a deer. I agree, Rick. I agree. But the most important thing about the dancing is that I don't get cut off mid-sentence, because nobody likes to